Chapter 14 is called A Neighborhood Meeting. Before I get started reading, I just want to say I love to read aloud, and I hope you guys are enjoying listening just as much as I am recording this. If you remember, Mimi had snuck into the Palmer's house by way of Kate's backpack. And she tried to make the adults believe that she really was good and wanted to stay at the house. Mom Funcraft and Tiffany and Annabelle in the last chapter went to go get Dad Funcraft and Bobby and baby Brittany and or is that Bailey and baby Brittany? I'm so confused. Anyway, they decided they had to have a meeting. And while they were there, Mimi has been roaming the house, and she threw a cat ball, and when we left her, she was standing at the edge of Kate's bed trying to get her to wake up to tell her that the dolls are alive. Okay. The dolls and the Funcrafts had held 2 previous neighborhood meetings. The first had taken place several months earlier after Tiffany had overheard a discussion in which she thought the Palmers had decided to get a dog. The second one had taken place the previous day, and Annabelle and Tiffany had known nothing about it. Their families had met to discuss what they should do if the girls didn't return very soon. Now the girls were back, and the families needed to meet again. "To get rid of the menace we brought with us," said Annabelle, feeling guilty. The meeting was held in the dolls' parlor. The 7 grown-ups crowded onto chairs on the sofa. Annabelle, Tiffany, Bobby, and Bailey sat on the floor. Baby Betsy and baby Brittany had been settled with quiet toys in the dining room where Nanny could keep her eye on them. At first, everyone tried to face out into Kate's room so they could watch for me and Mimi, but it was very difficult to carry on a conversation when everyone was looking in the same direction. Eventually, Annabelle, Tiffany, Bailey, and Bobby turned around and faced the grown-ups, but Annabelle found herself constantly glancing over her shoulder. Auntie Sarah led the meeting. "I hereby call to order this, the 3rd meeting of the Neighborhood Doll Association," she said. "Tonight we have gathered to discuss the problem of Mimi. Is it agreed that our first order of business is to figure out a way in which to capture Mimi? If so, say aye." "Aye," the dolls called softly. "Very good," said Auntie Sarah. "Okay, any ideas?" Tiffany shot her hand into the air. Ooh, I have an idea." "Tiffany?" Auntie Sarah pointed to her. "I think," said Tiffany, "that we should trick me and Mimi into meeting up with the captain." The dolls glanced at one another. "Okay," said Auntie Sarah. "I don't get it," said Bailey. "Well, see, we'll use reverse psychology," Tiffany explained. "We'll wait until we see Mimi again. Then we'll tell her that we don't care what she does in this house as long as she doesn't hurt the poor kitty downstairs. Like in the story about Brer Rabbit and the briar patch. Then Mimi will go downstairs just to do what we told her not to do, and the captain will get her." Tiffany sat back, looking pleased. "What do you mean he'll get her?" asked Annabelle. "He'll run off with her, like he did with you, Mr. Doll." "But I thought we were supposed to capture Mimi," said Bobby. Everyone looked at Auntie Sarah. "Well," she said, "I guess that's what I meant, although I'm not sure what we'll do with Mimi once we catch her." "Still, we don't want the captain to catch her, do we?" asked Annabelle. "For one thing, Mimi might hurt him. I know we don't like the captain, but we don't want him to get hurt. And what would the humans think had happened to him? Plus, Mimi could probably just escape from him. Then we'd be right back where we started." Annabelle paused. I'm sorry, Tiffany. I think that's a clever idea, I really do, but I'm not sure it would work out in the end. After a moment, Papa Doll said, I think it's clear that we have to set this trap ourselves. I'm not sure what kind of trap it should be. Maybe something involving a spider's web, said Auntie Sarah thoughtfully. Spiders' webs are very strong, you know, strong enough to ensnare large, wriggling insects. But strong enough to ensnare a large, wriggling doll? Asked Annabelle. Well, maybe strong enough to ensnare her while we tie her up with rope. We could do it in the attic where no one would come upon her. And then we would bring her downstairs all tied up, asked Nanny. Well, I don't know. The members of the NDA, Neighborhood Doll Association, sat thoughtfully, the grown-ups staring out into Kate's room. Finally, Auntie Sarah said, Perhaps we should move on to the second order of business. What should we do with Mimi if we catch her? The grown-ups twisted their hands. Tiffany played with the bow in her hair. Bailey and Bobby tapped their feet. Annabelle looked thoughtful. We could turn the Barbie camper into a jail, said Papa Doll after a few moments. We could leave her tied up in there until we think she's learned her lesson. I suppose that could work, said Uncle Doll, as long as Kate doesn't happen to look in the camper. I'm not sure we can count on Mimi to keep quiet, though. What if, said Mama, we treated Mimi with kindness while she was in the camper? Perhaps people haven't been very kind to her. Can you blame them? Whispered Tiffany to Annabelle. That's an interesting idea, said Mom Funcraft. Maybe she would learn to change her ways. I like the idea of trapping her in the camper, said Nanny, but I don't think she needs kindness. I think she needs discipline. Remember that word? That was in a book that we read called Sideways Stories from Wayside School. Discipline was a word that got used for Todd to get sent home on the kindergarten bus. Discipline can be administered with kindness, said Auntie Sarah. Said Nanny. Bailey raised his hand. Bailey, said Auntie Sarah. I bet mean Mimi doesn't know how to have fun, he said. Maybe she needs fun, like in that song, Girls Just Want to Have Fun. Yes, more quality fun, said Dad Funcraft. Plus, trapping her would be fun for us, added Bobby. That doll does not need fun. She needs reform, thundered Uncle Doll, and everybody quickly turned their attention to Kate, but she slept on. Uncle Doll composed himself. Pardon me, he said. So what exactly are we going to do? Asked Mom Funcraft. Let's take turns voicing our opinions individually, replied Auntie Sarah. I'd like to hear from each one of you. Quietly, she added, looking at Uncle Doll. Okay, I'll start, said Dad Funcraft. I think we should trap Mimi, but I'm not sure how. I don't know that the spider's web idea is going to work. Then after we trap her, we bring her to the Barbie camper and teach her how to have fun. She needs to let her hair down a little. I agree with Dad, said Mom Funcraft. I think, said Mama Doll, that we should trap her somehow. I'm not sure about the spider's web either, and take her to the camper where we'll show her kindness. I agree with Mama, said Papa Doll. I think we should take her to the camper for discipline, said Nanny. I agree with Nanny, said Uncle Doll. Three different opinions, And you have 2 adults for each opinion. I don't really care what we do with her as long as we trap her, said Bobby. Yeah, agreed Bailey and Tiffany. Clearly we'll have to give more thought to setting a trap, said Auntie Sarah. Annabelle, what do you think we should do? Everyone turned to Annabelle. I think, said Annabelle softly. She hesitated. I think that before we do anything, we should all take deep breaths. What? Said several of the dolls after a moment of uncomfortable silence. We need to take deep breaths, Annabelle repeated patiently. What Mimi is doing to us is terrible. She's trying to make us afraid. Afraid to move about, afraid to live our lives, afraid to be free. But we don't have to let her. No one can make us feel anything. We are the only ones who control what we feel. You guys, this is so good, especially for right now. I love how books have that way of connecting to our lives. We are the only ones who can control what we feel. So, we can choose not to feel afraid. And it helps to stay calm and breathe deeply. Annabelle noticed several of the dolls glancing at one another. Tiffany looked down at her shoes. All right, said Auntie Sarah, that's fine. But is there anything you think we should do about Mimi? Well, the dolls waited. I think that we should do nothing, Annabelle answered finally. Nothing? Said Uncle Doll. Not exactly nothing, replied Annabelle. What I mean is that I think if we leave Mimi alone, eventually she'll get herself in big trouble. She'll do herself in. We should go back to our regular lives, Annabelle continued, remembering the nerve-wracking walk through the hall to Nora's room and back. She did not want to feel that way anymore. We can choose not to be afraid, she said. And that's what we have to do. We have to be on the alert, of course. We have to keep our eyes open for whatever trouble Mimi might cause. But I think that what matters is that we are positive and Mimi is negative. And in the end, our positive actions will win out over Mimi's negative ones. Why poke a stick in a hornet's nest? There was another moment of silence. This was followed by shuffling of feet and more glances and plenty of raised eyebrows. At last Uncle Doll said, "That's all well and good, Annabelle, but meanwhile there is a monster in our midst. Do you really think all we need to do is take deep breaths?" Yeah. The monster is trying to bowl us over with cat toys, and we're just supposed to breathe and think nice thoughts, said Bailey. Well, Annabelle remembered the chaos at BJ's house. She remembered the barricades and traps and spying and plans. What had all that led to? Torn posters and nicks in the bed and missing dolls. Still, when Annabelle looked around at the faces of her family and her friends, she felt like a balloon with the air seeping out. I have to leave you for the weekend. You'll have to wait till Monday to come back. Chapter 15 is called The Captain Comes Back. So now not only do they have Mimi roaming around the house, who's trying to get the dolls in trouble, but now the captain is coming back. What do you think? Are they going to catch Mimi? Are they all going to be in trouble, all doll kind? Think about it. See you on Monday.